primer. We're putting that all over the eye. The second thing we want to do is actually add a base, which is something that's a creamy product. You can use something that's preferably golden toned. Today I am going to be using my Revlon. This is the cream shadows, the luminance cream shadows, and this is in pink petals. Of course, this is gold with a slightly pink undertone, but it's what I had on hand right now. So I am going to be using that. You can use the NYX jumbo pencils, the Jordana jumbo pencils, or any sort of a creamy base like that will work. So I'm grabbing onto a little bit of this, and I'm applying this all over the entire lid, all the way up to the brow bone. Now the palette I'm going to be using today is the 120 palette, and this is the one that I've shown you before, where it's, you know, there are a lot of smoky colors in one section, and then there are very soft sort of pastel colors in the other section. Of course, you don't have to go with what exactly I'm using. This is a really great alternative palette that can actually be bought at Pennywise, and you've seen me use this before, and it's called the Starry palette. And basically it looks like this, and it's just about $9, I think, and you can actually use this palette to do this entire look today. In fact, I'm going to be using just the first two colors here as an inner corner highlight for this look. All of the other colors will be taken from that 120 palette, but I will be saying them in terms of color reference so that you can use whatever it is you have in your collection to complete this look. So we are going to start by using a flat shader brush, and the first color that I'm going to pick up is actually from that Starry palette that I showed you, and I'm going to be mixing these first two, these sort of yellowish colors here, and I'm going to use that as an inner corner highlight. So just popping that right in along the inner tear duct, and bringing it very, very lightly onto the inner part of the lid. Now using that same brush, I am going into the first tier of this palette, and there are two golds that I'm actually going to be mixing. You can choose to use one depending on how intense you want that sort of a yellowy gold color to be. So the first gold I'm using is actually on the first column, which is this one right here, and it's this gold right here. And I'm mixing it with the second one on the second column, which is this one right here. Now you can actually pick and choose your golds depending on the color of your outfit. Some saris tend to be a little bit more beige, they tend to be a little bit more whitish gold. You can choose your gold that closely matches your sari. It doesn't have to be something as yellow based as this. So once you pick up a little bit on the brush, you're going to apply that on the inner first quarter of that lid. I want to give a little bit of a blend towards the inner corner highlight that we placed in. Now on that same side of the palette, there is on the third column, the second to last one down, which is just sort of an orange based color here, like a burnt orange. I am going to pick up just a little bit on that, on the brush, same brush, and I'm going to apply it directly next to that yellowish gold. No, I don't want to apply this too heavily. This is just going to serve as sort of a blending color into the other color that we're going to be using, which is a little bit darker. And to go directly from that lighter golden color directly into that darker color, it's a bit of a tricky thing to blend. So this facilitates that blending and that sort of a gradient look a little bit more easier. Good, so you just want to blend the two in very, very lightly where they meet. And once that's done, I am actually going over to the second tier, which has all these smoky colors. Now this is the, let's just say it as the third column from the left. This is the third column from the left, and it's the second to last one down. Sorry, second to last one from the bottom, which is this color here. It's sort of a smoky burgundy type color. And again, using the same brush that we have, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that on the brush and pop it into the last remaining quarter of the eye. right along the outer edge here. And I'm blending that into the burnt orange that we placed in the crease, sorry, on the inner part there. And just lightly blending the two together. Great. So once that's done, now I'm going to go in with a fluffy blending brush, and I'm going in with the top tier again, and this is sort of like a terracotta type color. If you don't have this color, you can actually use like a brown that is maybe 1 or 2 shades darker than your skin tone. And this is the second row from the, second column from the left, the third one up, right here. But a terracotta color, any color like that will do. Arista has one called Fawn, F-A-W-N, and that is a really great substitute for this color. And I'm going into the crease and just slightly above using this color. And it's a mixture between a sort of brownish, reddish type color. And this is going to act as our softening color, or a blending color rather, for the color that we're going to deepen up the crease with. So we just want to really blend this out and soften it and take it upwards towards the brow bone, not quite as high. Great. So once that's done, I am going in with a pencil brush or a crease brush or anything that you have that's sort of pointed, and going back to the second tier, or the tier that has the smoky colors. I'm going to be mixing two colors. Two colors I'm going to be mixing is it's the fourth row from the left. It's this sort of reddish color here, along with the brown, the deepish brown right down here. I'm going to mix these two and put them right into the crease of the eye, only concentrating the color right there, just so that I have a little bit of depth and flare to the edge of the eye. So popping directly into the crease, and you want to keep your brush in there. Try not to lift your brush as much. That way you get a nice smooth transition of color. And you can build this up as heavily as you want it, depending on how smoky or how dramatic you need the look to be. But for me, I think this is just about fine. And then I would probably go back over with my blending brush just to sort of soften everything out a little bit. Now, if we did not have that initial color there, the terracotta color there, it would have been very difficult to have blended out that really dark color in the crease. So that's the purpose of having that color there. Great, so once that's done, what I'm going to do is I am going to take a matte skin color, and there is one in this same palette. You choose whichever one is closest to your skin tone, maybe just a shade lighter, and that's the color that you stick with. So I'm taking my matte color, and I'm popping it right up underneath the eyebrow, and bringing it down to soften out the edge of that terracotta color. Also taking it towards the inner part of the eye and just sort of blending everything out. Great, so now once we're done with that, what we're going to do is take up a shimmery frosty white or maybe a gold, and I'm going back into that initial starry palette, and I'm taking a little bit of the whitish gold and popping it just underneath the highlight of my brow. Just underneath the arch, so we have a little bit of a highlight happening there. Then what I'm going to do now is actually put on my under eye concealer and just clean up any fallout that may have happened on the face, and from there I'm going to start lining the eyes. Okay, so now that we are done with the under eye concealer, I am going in using a flat detail brush. Anything that has a nice flat shape to it, it can be a smudge brush, and what I'm doing is I'm picking up the lid color, that very bright yellowish gold. And it helps if you wet the brush just a little bit, just to keep the fallout from going everywhere, because now we already have our concealer on. And I am going to apply this along the inner part of my eye. Now it does help if you have a small handheld mirror like this and you are able to look up into that mirror. It allows you to get really close to those lashes, which is what we want. And then I'm going back in using that burgundy-ish color that we used for the outer edge of the eye, and I'm going to apply it right on the outer half of the eye and just blend the two slightly where they meet. At this point, I am going to line my eyes, and you can use whatever liner you're comfortable with. I'm going to line the waterline as well as the tight line, just to give a very deep sort of Arabic look. And you want to line all the way from the inner corner straight towards the outer edge of the eye, and very heavily. This is what's going to give you that sort of Arabic flair to the makeup. And again, right up into the tight line, which is the under part of the lid. If you are not comfortable doing this, then definitely skip this step. Great. So once you're done with that, we're going to line the top lash line, and I'm going to wing it out into a very not deep wing, not like a cat's eye or anything, but into somewhat of an Arabic style wing. Now once the liner is completed, what I'm going to do is I'm going back into that smudge brush that we used for the lower lash line, and I'm going to wet it once again, and I'm going to dip into the matte black of that same palette that we were using. And using that same small mirror, I'm going to look up and connect use that black shadow and really deepen up the line underneath the eye. We want it super black and a little bit thick, and then I'm taking that all the way towards the inner part of the eye, and I'm creating just a little bit of a point along the inner part here. Not too much, just to give sort of an Arabic type point. And once that's done, you can feel free to add lashes, and the ones that I'm using today are of course my favorites, which are the Pinkies number 1220. You can get these at Pennywise and they're fairly inexpensive. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply those, and we will be back. Okay, so now that the lashes are done, I have applied a coat of mascara to the top lashes just to sort of mesh my natural lashes in with the fake ones. You can always skip that step if you prefer. And I have also applied a coat of mascara to the bottom lashes as well. So the rest of our face, what we're going to do is I'm actually going to use two blushes today along with the highlight. I know it's a lot of steps, but it really gives you that sort of Arabic chai flair. And the first blush that I'm using is this is called Chai, and this is the LA Colors Mineral Blush, and this is what it looks like, sort of again a terracotta type color. And I'm using the MAC 109, which is basically a contour brush. If you don't have this brush, you can use whatever it is you have. And I'm dabbing a little bit of that on the brush, and I'm blotting it off on my hands because we don't want too much of this. It's very strong, and I'm using this basically as a contour for the cheeks. And I'm going up onto the apple of the cheek just very lightly. Using that same brush, I am using, this is MAC's blush in Spring Sheen, and it's basically a blush that is sort of peachy, pinky based with a little bit of a golden undertone to it. It looks like this. So you can always, if you don't have this and you don't want to get this, you can actually just use a blush that has a peachy undertone or a pink undertone to it, and then maybe use a golden highlight over it to get the same sort of effect. So dabbing a little bit of that, I am just going on the apples of the cheeks and just sort of blending out the rest of the cheekbone where the contour color would have been. Now to layer over that, my last step for the cheek is actually using a highlight, and this is the LA Splash Mineral Blush, and it's quite inexpensive. I got this at Wonderful World. You can get it online as well too, and this is in Persian Gold, and I absolutely love it. It's my favorite highlighter right now, and it works so well on a lot of different skin tones. and you want to pick up a little bit on the tip of a brush, and now a little bit goes a long way because you don't want to look too shiny at the end of the day, but you want to dust this right onto the top part of that cheekbone. And the way that I like to teach how to apply blush and contour and highlight and whatnot is you have to think of the cheek as if you would like an Oreo cookie. So your contour should be that bottom cookie, your blush color should be the filling, and then the highlight should be right up on top where that top cookie would generally be. So that's one way to look at it. And then of course I would just a little bit of this down the bridge of my nose and maybe just a tiny bit on the chin. Again, not to do too much shimmer because we already have so much going on. So once that's done, the last thing we have to actually do is lips. Now you can choose, because the eyes are very bold, you can either go two ways on this. You can go very neutral, like a soft pink, maybe even like a terracotta-ish type color would do if you don't want to do anything that's too bold. However, I generally love to use bold sort of burgundies and reds on Hindu brides or Indian brides. I think that it really does kick up that dramatic flair that they're looking for. And yes, it's a lot at the same time, but what I like to say is that, you know what, this dress or the traditional wear that you're wearing is so elaborate, and then jewelry is really elaborate as well too. So whatever you're doing in terms of makeup, you have to be able to stand out against all of that that drama that's going on there as well too. So I say, you know what, go for it and try something bold. Again, if you are doing this look for your wedding, I suggest that you practice at least 2 to 3 weeks before the wedding day, so that you do have the hang of it, and then by then you would have maybe practiced using different colors of lips, and you would have narrowed it down to exactly what you would want on your day. So what I'm going to do is take a burgundy lip liner. Anyone will do. This is just some cheap little daily wear one that I have, and line the lips. You want to be really careful when you're doing this though, because this is a bolder color, and whenever you use bolder colors on the lips, you have to be careful because they can actually bleed out, and if you line them incorrectly and you try to remove them, they actually stain the skin that's underneath. So you have to be really careful about your placement. Done with that, what I suggest is taking a lip brush or anything that you may have that's similar, that has a nice straight edge, and blend the lip liner into the lip.